Hi everybody and welcome to another exciting issue of Retro Gamer Magazine. I'm Darran Jones.
And I'm Drew Sleep.
Before we carry on, you've probably noticed that there's an actual hole in my chest. It's because I can't follow simple instructions like, hey Darran, when you do the next video, make sure you haven't got something green on. And unfortunately, I've got a little bit green on. If I do this,
grey.
It'll probably look fine, but if I do this for the entire video, it'll look like I'm pledging allegiance to Retro Gamer. And as great as that is, kids, we don't pledge allegiance to anyone.
Do kids read this magazine?
But that's the reason. So if you suddenly see and it looks like there's a gaping hole, just imagine that there's like a little Pac-Man like running through it or something, and all will be fine.
Yeah.
Or Strider.
Yeah.
So we'll quickly talk about the cover while we're flicking through all this bees and bobs.
It is.
Streets of Rage 2.
Streets of Rage 2. One of my favourites, in fact. We used the original art, didn't we?
Some say in hushed tones that it's the greatest fighting game ever made.
It definitely is.
Anyway, let's take a look inside the issue because we'll be at Streets of Rage in a moment. So, first things first, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Old Hedgehog, new tricks.
Old Hedgehog, new tricks.
Sonic Mania's a thing, and it's coming next year.
And it looks like it's going to be really good. I mean, it genuinely looks like...
A Sonic game?
Yeah, but it looks like a Sega Saturn game as well. It looks like, because obviously they skipped over the Saturn and it just got a few ropey releases.
Yeah.
And it didn't get a proper Sonic platformer. And this looks like that platformer. So we've got high hopes for it.
Years in the making, kind of.
Back to School's being remade. Classic Spectrum game. I don't know about you, Drew, but I'm not massively keen with the direction they're going in terms of the visuals.
Yeah, it looks a bit... I'd rather it be a bit look older in its aesthetics, to be honest, but...
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be fine because it's classic gameplay, but it just looks a bit too... Yeah, I'm not a fan of the art style, if I'm honest, so let's quickly move on. That's nice.
Yeah, Outrun on a vinyl.
Outrun on a vinyl,
what more
vinyl
you
music. You've got an Everdrive, you've got some cool retro mugs from Game Tree, and this is pretty cool as well. This is a lot of Spectrum adventure games, graphic and text adventures. 2 more months before we move to Back to the Noughties.
I know,
right?
right?
Are you looking forward to Back to the Noughties?
It means that the years when I was a teenager are now retro, so that's terrifying, but let's go.
It's terrifying, but it's true. Right, okay then. Streets of Rage 2. Let's talk about Streets of Rage 2.
Where'd you begin? I mean, the characters, I guess? Like...
Yeah, well, who did you always play? I always went for either Blaze. I always liked to play the females. And because you could obviously do that move that if you press both buttons at once, she'd do a back kick and you could see her knickers. But the other good game was Skate's really cool as well. He just the whole thing with the game is it introduced new special moves.
Yeah.
You got rid of that crappy police car which fired the rocket in
that took ages, didn't it?
In the original. They beefed up the graphics. It just felt more like an actual arcade game.
The music as well. Like, you can't talk about Streets of Rage without the music.
Personally, I'm going to go against convention and I'm going to say that the original is better.
What?
But hear me out. The main reason for that is there are some obviously excellent tracks on this.
Yeah.
But some of them are like remixes of the originals.
Okay.
And it's still brilliant. It's still an amazing soundtrack. But I kind of prefer the original, although we've got a great interview with Data Disc's Jamie Crook about the how the Streets of Rage soundtrack recently went to vinyl.
Basically exactly the same game anyway.
No, and you should be ashamed for suggesting
Bad Deeble, who the hell are you?
Bad Deeble.
They've both got chickens under bins though, right?
They have, but...
Hang on, we haven't talked about the best box art title ever.
What's in the bin? When Luke came up with this, I kept on thinking of in 7, when at the end, when he's going,
What's in the bin?
What's in the bin?
What's in the box?
And you just open it and expect to find, unfortunately, Gwyneth Paltrow's severed head isn't in this game.
Just pick it up and just go, take that, Mr. X, God.
But going back with the interview content as well, we've managed to speak to one of the original guys who worked on the game, who actually came quite close to death when he was working on it.
He worked that hard.
He worked that hard to make the greatest game ever. That was so much better than Streets of Rage Deeble. But we've also got an interview with the guys making the 3DS version, which came out recently. Are you excited about the NES Mini?
It's smaller, which means it could probably fit on by my TV. But yeah, I'm getting this. It's something that I've wanted, like a decent sort of plug-in and play NES machine. What could you want?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of complaints about why doesn't it come with like SD support? Why can't you do this? But Nintendo does things the way Nintendo does. They're massively anti-piracy. They were never going to put an SD card in this.
Yeah.
It is a shame that you can't connect up to like your Nintendo account, so you can like download all the games that it knows that you've bought from the Wii's Virtual Console service. But
that would have been nice. But the curated list of games on here are good. Like there's something for everyone. There's some even like Tecmo Bowl. Like I don't even know what that is. It's football, American football, but I want to try it. So it's Nintendo. It's good.
Speaking of good, let's talk about Snapper. If you didn't have a BBC Micro, you'd have no idea what it was because it was an exclusive to that machine. Well, telling a lie, it also came out on the Acorn or Atom, but nobody had one of those.
But take one look and you know exactly what it is, though, don't you?
It's Pac-Man. I mean, this is back in that magical time in the 80s when people would see something that was popular and just rip it off wholesale and make their own version. Snapper's got an interesting story because they clearly made it and it was clearly Pac-Man, and then they got a call from someone. They didn't say who, but they had to change the sprites and they didn't look very good, did they?
No.
But the actual core gameplay is excellent, and along the top here we've got some of the many other awesome arcade clones that were done by Acornsoft.
Acornsoft. Yes, let's go.
Acornsoft.
Full receive punctuation.
So moving on to Worms. Worms is a big thing. 21-year anniversary. There's a new game out, wasn't there? WMD, Weapons of Mass Destruction. And
or Worms of Mass Destruction.
Nick was able to go up to... could be Worms, couldn't it?
Right,
And we went up to Nick went up to Team 17. He's got a cracking interview. He's spoken to guys who have been involved in virtually every single game in the series.
Got some playing tips from the people who made Worms as well. So if you're crap, read our guide.
But everything you could possibly need to know about Worms is in that feature. Speaking of Worms, I've never known what Horace is.
He's not a worm.
He's kind of haunting though, isn't he? I mean, is that his ass? Is that his eyes? We might never know.
Imagine just like it's dark at night. You wake up to go to the toilet and you look in the mirror and Horace is there or something. It's like the thing of nightmares.
Despite that though, this is a great game, and Kim Justice has selected all the greatest moments from Horace Goes Skiing. Okay then, let's have a look at the Neo-Geo CD.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Neo-Geo but with a CD drive, and
it was something of a disaster, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's collectible now though, and everyone loves collectible stuff.
I do love collecting stuff. In fact, I was reading through this very issue, thinking, you know what, I fancy a Neo-Geo.
You got
CD.
that twitch on your hand again.
But the good things about it was that it was a really cheap, affordable way to buy Neo-Geo games, because basically the cartridge ones were like £250, and that was like back in the late 90s. I mean, imagine paying £250 for a video game.
I didn't have a concept of what £290 was.
I mean, I think the console was around 500. And so when obviously the CDs came along, they're like £40, and it's a much cheaper alternative. Yeah. The downside is that Neo Geo SNK thought it would be an amazing idea to put the slowest speed drive possible in the actual console. So you'd be waiting, I don't know, about like anything from 10 to 25 seconds just for like loading screens.
So in between fighting rounds as well.
Yeah. So you'd be playing a fighting game, and you'd have the round would finish, and then you would be waiting for an eternity.
Go put the kettle on.
And it was a bit crap. And they did kind of upgrade it with the later models, but it was a bit of a downside, and the machine never really recovered from it.
It's an oddity now. Anyway, Pang.
Bubbles. Are they bubbles? No, they're balloons actually.
Remember? We cleared that up. Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I did, being a keen bird watcher, one of the things that I did make a note of is I made sure that the birds were as accurate as possible, because somebody who will remain nameless literally called them green bird, brown bird, pink bird. No, that's not right. But birds aside, Pang's it's a really, really good little arcade game.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it gets hectic. It's the more you pop.
Did we played it on my machine, didn't we? A few months ago when we had basically you burst a bubble, the balloon bursts into two, you burst those balloons, they split into two, there's balloons bloody everywhere, you shoot them all down, move on to the next stage. It's a great concept, and this obviously looks at all the various conversions and all the sequels that came out.
Yeah.
Halls of the Things.
which is the most generic name you could ever expect. But you know what? This looks quite good.
If you judge some 8-bit games on obviously how they look, it's easy to think, you know what, that's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's not really fair because, I mean, when this game came out, it was doing quite a lot of clever stuff. It had procedurally generated levels, didn't it?
Yeah, I know. You even get that now.
And
No Man's Sky.
it was probably at the time, it was probably the closest you could get to playing like a virtual cool version of Dungeons and Dragons. And we've got an interview with Simon Brattle, who basically coded the game.
Yeah.
Master System, Minority Report. This was
Wow.
obviously put together by resident Master System maestro Nick.
Want to buy a Master System? Contact Nick.
He's still got 5
mil.
left. But yeah, all the cool bits and bobs, and
And Codemasters, another anniversary that's worth mentioning.
yeah,
Like-
30 years old now. First game, BMX Simulator, came out in 1986.
One of the most successful British homegrown companies.
Yeah, they've done really well. I mean, I used to collect all the actual Codemaster budget games back in the day, and
Yeah.
I never realised that because obviously on the back of the game you'd have like, this game is absolutely amazing, and you pick it up and you go, oh my god, this game's really good. This guy here, David Darran, says so. And then obviously many years later, I actually found out that David Darran actually owned Codemasters. So it's basically the equivalent of me saying, hey, look, this magazine Retro Gamer, it's absolutely fantastic, and you should buy it. Darran Jones, editor of Retro Gamer. But it worked for him, didn't it?
Well, yeah,
And,
it worked on you, didn't
it? I'm a very gullible person, though. And but you know, this looks at all from their early days to all the simulator games they used to make to. I mean, they're now and they're now a high-end
racing game
company, aren't they?
Dirt Rally and F1 games, I think, as well. Yeah.
Super Game Boy. Did you ever have one of those?
I didn't know, but my friend had one actually, and I just sit there on it and play Pokemon on it, and you just be like, Drew, can we do something? Go outside to be like, no, playing the Super Game Boy.
Funny story. I was going to buy one of these for my brother as a Christmas present, and then I saw that they were £50, and there was no way I was going to spend £50 on it.
It's not worth that much.
So I didn't get it.
All right, that's an interesting story.
now you can get it quite cheap. Moving on with the times, we've got Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, this is.
I mean, this is probably the sort of thing that makes you feel old now, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, it's worth mentioning. Well, the original PlayStation trilogy are like classics. They're fantastic.
20 years old. Is it 20 years old now? The first
About
Crash?
that, yeah. But you know, he tailed off towards the PS2 era and beyond. He kind of lost his way as soon as he left Naughty Dog, really.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's worth mentioning, and he's coming back. Hopefully, good game. You never know.
Well, there's he's in Skylanders, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's in the new Skylanders, but they're also making a brand new trilogy, which
it's a remaster of the original.
Sorry, a remaster of the original. Jim Hufer, is that right? Do you think?
Hufer? Probably.
Apologies, Jim, if I've mispronounced your name wrong. But he's an ex-Atari coder. Quite fascinating.
Gives a very candid look into the Atari.
Definitely.
Sort of era.
Yeah, the Atari hot tub and the drug phase of Atari. But he's got some great stories. He's been involved in a load of great games, including Castle of Illusion on the Sega Mega Drive.
And he is also the boxer of Warlords. They used him because he looks like a warlord.
Apparently, he was just walking down a corridor and somebody said, "Hey, you look like a warlord. Would you like to be on the box of this Atari game?" Okay, and that's what happened. King of Fighters 14, really good. Doesn't look great, but
it's got a dinosaur man in
fantastic.
it, so, you know.
Well, everything is better with a dinosaur in it.
It's the rule.
Worms, Weapon of Mass Destruction, Cosmic Cavern, 3671, Brutal. Look at the homebrew section, and that's pretty much your. What's that?
Oh my god!
Mind blowing! It's a GameCube! But seriously, the GameCube is 15 years old. It's going to be 3 generations old soon, and we thought it was about time that we put it in the actual magazine.
Retro!
We handled it with care.
Yeah. Alongside the Nintendo GameCube, we've got an awesome feature on Super Mario 64. We've got a look at the Amstrad CPC 6128 Plus.
We enter the house of the dead.
Lovely. Tex Murphy, Glenn Corpse. Oh, we're not doing Toy Story now, are we?
No,
yeah,
no.
ignore that.
You just woke up one day and we're like, don't want to do it. We'll put that back.
Chasing Express, Beyond Games, The Hit Squad, which was a really good little budget label of collectible games, and Super Scramble Simulator. So that's pretty much all. I'm trying to get my words out. What am I trying to say?
I don't know.
That's pretty much all we've got for this issue. I'm
Yes.
Darran Jones.
I'm Drew Sleep Still.
And we'll see you in a month. Bye.